Hey everybody, Old Guy Jammin' here. This is why you subscribe to this channel, because we work smarter rather than harder. What we're going to try to do today is set up a variable control for the throttle on this STIHL FS90. It often is really nice to have some sort of throttle control. When you're working with the heavy stuff, then you want that full on. But lots of times, time of year rolls around where you, I can show you out there, but you probably won't see it. The grass is wispy, and it's not real thick, and you don't like to run this thing hot all the time, full throttle, and your thumb gets tired of trying to regulate it, and you're up and down, up and down. So this is what the inside of this looks like. We're going to try two things. One is to have a stopper right here so that it bumps up into the fixed part of the handle. Right about, right there. I had it running and I decided where I wanted that to stop, and it's right there. And the other one is the other idea is to drill a hole and tap it right here, and we'll have a Teflon bolt or screw that will be adjustable. This way you can back it out if you want more RPM, or thread it in if you want less RPM. And it'll act as a hard stop inside the mechanism right up in there. And easy enough to do. Small hole, tap it so it's threaded, and then you insert the length of nylon or plastic screw you want, and you can also just trim that plastic screw so that you end up with a good combination of whatever you want, and then you're done. Now, STIHL offers a grip device that has, 2, 3, 4, 5 settings on it so that it'll regulate your RPM. But that's a lot of money. It's like $110 for that special handle, and so I'm going to save you all that dough and give you show you how to do the same thing easily from your local hardware store. All right, check it out. We're back. So this is your handle. I've been to the hardware store. You are going to have a tap and die set, but who doesn't have a tap and die set, right? You're going to need one of these. This is a 832, and for an 832, you're going to need a number 29 drill. So I drilled that right there with a number 29, and I left the same thickness along the bottom here that I see on the inside here, and it's about 3/32, close to 1/8 of an inch. So I came up that far, and also I wanted the head of the screw to be right about at that black line when it's inserted, right? Because that's the line I drew. So this is method number one. Now when you're cutting threads, if you're doing metal, you're going to use some WD-40 or lubricant of some kind. But when you're cutting threads, you want to go in a little and then back off to knock the thread that you've cut off. And then you thread some more, back off a quarter turn, almost a full turn, then a quarter turn, just to knock off the cuts that you're making. Once you do that, then this little screw will fit right in. And one of the coolest things you can have in your shop is a tap and die set. To be able to cut your own threads, whether you're making a bolt. I made a whammy bar for a Kramer I had as a kid. I wanted a different style bar, and so I found the piece of stock I wanted, bent it, added some weight to it for killer crickets, filled it with lead, filled the tip with lead, and then bent it correctly and threaded it so it would fit in the bridge of my Kramer, the Floyd Rose bridge. And so it was super weighted, and it gave killer crickets. Brad Gillis. All right, so now we're going to try. I want to try putting this guy in here, because this should give me some variability. I'm going to try both since I have it apart, and this should allow me to back off the screw a little bit for more RPM if I want. And then in this position right here, when the screw's all the way in, well, let's do it and then show you. We should be right about at that black line. So this is a 1-inch, quarter inch diameter, 20 threads per inch, quarter 20 nylon screw from the hardware store. The correct size drill for that's a number 7 drill. We're going to go ahead and right here live. Ooh, the bottom of this is a little bit tapered, so it's going to want to float a little bit. Alright, that's close enough to center. I'm going to angle up a little bit. That drill has seen some wear. Now, this holder is not going to work for this. It's a little bit too big, but that's okay. You can use a plier or a little crescent wrench. It's just plastic, so it shouldn't be too hard. But you're going to want to thread in there, and then you back off a little bit. Cut your thread, back off, cut your thread. Wow, this is going to work just fine with just my hand. Back it off, cut, and then run it in nice and deep. That way you make sure you have a nice thread cut. Now because of the thickness of this is only about 3/32, I'll be curious to see how well it holds this thread. Alright, but now we've got this threading in. Now another thing you can do, and the reason I chose this spot, I'll measure it probably and tell you where it's at. The reason I chose this spot is because it will run the screw right up next to, let me see if I can catch this. See that little cross piece of plastic right there? I measured this, or I drilled it where I did so that the screw would rest on that supportive piece of plastic and give us some additional support, additional strength. So now I'm below that line quite a bit when the trigger's pulled. So when I'm out in the field, I ought to be able to back this off. And then I'm right there to the line. I chose a flathead pan type screw, so it's easy on my finger. If I want a little more, I can just back that out. And I've got more RPM. This is going to be awesome. Alright, so that's what you do. Piece of cake. And then, another thing I thought about, and if you want to, this comes off easily, a spring, and then this handle assembly just comes right off. This is channeled inside, it's empty. If you wanted to, if you're that kind of guy that wants to, I'm thinking about it, but we'll see how this works first. You could take this nut, sand it down just a little bit on each side so it's narrow enough to fit in that channel, and then I know epoxy doesn't affix real well to plastic, but if it doesn't have any stress on it, it will suffice. And you could set one of these nuts down in that channel and epoxy it in there, or even put some hot glue or something in there. It just has to stay there. And then you'd have some extra support for this nut. But because I drilled right up into this supportive piece in the middle, it's great. It's going to work great. Alright, we've got the screw in. Very nice, but you don't always want to run real high if all you have is light-duty weeds. So I'm going to run this screw all the way in. I don't like to over-rev my engines. Not a nice thing to do. So with the screw all the way in, this is my RPM. I can lightly rest on the screw. Not quite enough. I can back this out a little bit. never have to worry about over revving. I don't have to try and constantly figure out, trying to adjust my fingers. I just put the screw where I want it, rest my finger on the trigger, focus on weed eating. It's awesome. You're going to love it. You're going to want to do it. Old Guy Jamming is out.
Till you